Well, yeah, thank you very much, and bon dia. Good morning, everyone. I'm so happy to be here today. Really, it's a kind of a moment of excitement to be back to Brazil, to see all of you again, and again to talk about Zabbix. I think these 2 days will be very, very exciting to all of us. It's, I think, a great opportunity to learn more about the product, and us as Zabbix developers to learn about maybe your needs. So finally, we can meet all in person and communicate as real humans. So no more Teams and Zooms. So back to a normal life. Anyway, first, today my talk will be a little bit technical. I will talk about the present state of Zabbix, about the challenges many companies are facing right now. And of course, there are a vast majority of companies right now thinking about a better, a more agile, and more cost-effective IT infrastructure. Not necessarily IT infrastructure, but the way how to handle IT in general. And of course, there are many challenges. Yeah, we all used like 10 years or 20 years ago. The kind of IT was relatively simple. Yeah, so we had like servers, maybe some applications running on the servers, not so much a connectivity between all of them. But nowadays, it's all so much interconnected and so much complexity, so many devices and services and applications we need to support. And of course, there are many challenges like scalability, like support of new, again, more agile principles, how to handle this complexity, like DevOps, AIOps, when we are talking about the monitoring in general. And of course, speaking about monitoring, it's also not so easy. Yeah, it's not so easy because again, it's increasing complexity. Yeah, we are talking about hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands of devices, services and applications, microservices. Sometimes it could be a cloud resources we need to monitor. And of course, it's absolutely not easy. Nowadays, many companies are thinking or already migrating, or already there in a hybrid clouds or cloud technologies, thinking about the solutions like Kubernetes and microservices on top of a Docker. And of course, we as developer of a monitoring tool, it's our challenge to support not only kind of the current state of technologies, but think about the future. So support a legacy, maybe some legacy applications we already have, but also support the technologies which are on horizon. What else? Well, Zabbix is a free and open source enterprise level monitoring solution. Okay, so this is kind of the definition, the essence of Zabbix. So it is free and open source. Again, everyone can use it absolutely for free. We don't have any kind of a special versions of Zabbix like enterprise for paid customers and maybe a community release for everyone else. No, it's just a single product with absolutely all features included. And again, our challenge as the developers of Zabbix is to make it as flexible as possible. So basically, we are creating a platform, a very flexible platform that can be used and applied to different use cases, monitoring use cases you face. Yeah? And universal means it's very flexible. And I will use this word flexibility very often during my talk today. Yeah, so it is flexible, and again, enterprise level basically means, in my definition, the fact that Zabbix can be, I guess, relatively easy integrated into existing ecosystems of other systems, applications, and services you may already have in your company and your enterprise. So, good thing about Zabbix that all kind of enterprise-grade features, say Basically, you may keep data for unlimited number of days. All security-related features we have in Zabbix, things like a 2FA, single sign-on, it all comes at no cost, which is really, really nice, yeah? Especially if you're comparing Zabbix to different tools with maybe per device fee, yeah? We can see that Zabbix is nice, also from a business point of view. Yeah, this cost effectiveness is important, especially for business people. We are technical people. Maybe it's not that important, but it's nice to spend our budgets and our money not on the licenses, but on something useful. Yeah, on the product we develop, on the services we provide to end users. I think the free and open source software has a huge advantage here. Again, nowadays we have this challenge, a challenge of maybe hiring new people, finding good engineers. And I think another quite significant advantage of Zabbix is because of maybe a popularity of Zabbix right now, it's relatively easy to find and hire Zabbix engineers. Yeah, I think it's also one of the kind of a key advantages of Zabbix. And again, going back to the kind of a pricing model, and with free and open source, there is no kind of cost associated. It's free and open source. I think Zabbix is, again, from a business point of view, it's a very, very cost-effective solution. And even if you're a business customer of Zabbix, you pay for some level of support, you're still paying a fixed price. It's not a per-device price, but it is a fixed price. So regardless of the number of monitored devices, maybe today it could be 100, tomorrow 1,000, maybe day after tomorrow 10,000, actually the price is exactly the same, which I find very, very nice from a business point of view. Yeah, sometimes I'm getting the question, so what is your kind of as the largest customer or the largest user in terms of a number of devices, in terms of a new values per second. I have to say that at this moment we have many customers that use Zabbix to monitor hundreds of thousands of devices. Yeah? And this is a number from our top customer. By the number of devices, it's more than 500,000 devices monitored by a single Zabbix plus a bunch of proxies. It's a very well-known company from the United States, a multinational big company. Unfortunately, I cannot name it because of some restrictions, but this is the level of scalability Zabbix is capable of right now. So, deploy anywhere. Again, if you look at the market of the monitoring solutions right now, of course, we may find different tools. And some tools are kind of on-premise tools. Some tools are designed and made to be on-premise. Some tools are designed and made to be only cloud. And there are many solutions right now offering software as a service or monitoring services online. And again, with Zabbix, we have a choice, actually. Yeah, of course, we may deploy Zabbix on-premise, which is really nice sometimes. Yeah, and that's what many people are doing, deploying it on-premise on a different, using a different operating system. It could be deployed on top of a Kubernetes, for example, Ubuntu, Debian, SUSE, Red Hat, and now we just introduced support of Alma Linux and Rocky Linux. Yeah, okay, and Docker image, of course. Yeah, so it's very, very easy to deploy Zabbix using Docker images. Talking about the cloud, again, we have a choice. Right now, we have like one-click setup on different public clouds. So AWS, GCP, Google Cloud Platform, and Azure, and some other clouds are supported. So again, there is a freedom Yeah, it's not only freedom which comes from the free and open source nature of Zabbix, yeah, but also the freedom where we may deploy and we may use Zabbix. We can do it on premise, or we may use it, in the cloud. What else? Well, again, I'd like to repeat myself and tell that we are trying to build a super flexible monitoring platform. Yeah, platform which is capable of monitoring different type of devices and services and applications, and not necessarily related to IT infrastructure. It's far beyond the IT infrastructure. It could be IoT. Now we are working really hard on making sure that Zabbix will monitor cloud services out of the box. We'll talk about this a little bit later. So it's really, really important. Again, if you have some legacy applications, Zabbix can do it as well. Around 4 years ago, we have established kind of integration team within Zabbix, and the main goal of the integration team is to make sure that Zabbix is capable of monitoring basically all popular devices on the market. So, and we have established this kind of the database of known solutions, which is available under zabbix.com/integrations, and it contains both official solutions which comes from Zabbix team, but also there are many solutions coming from a community. So again, I'd like to take this opportunity and thank to all of you who participate in this. So this is a great way to share maybe your work with some other guys. It's not only about monitoring. Again, I said that it's enterprise grade solution, so basically can be integrated with many different systems on the market. And the ticketing solutions, and this list constantly growing. It's like OTRS, Zendesk, solutions from BMC, commercial tools, Jira, ServiceNow, Topdesk, SolarWinds, Helpdesk, and many other products. And also alerting tools like Microsoft Teams, tools like PagerDuty or VictorOps, and Telegram, for example, Mattermost, OpsGenie, and there are some other, and Office 365, Microsoft Teams, of course. Yeah, so it's all that comes out of the box, and we are working on making sure that those solutions are very friendly and easy to use. What else? I will shed some light on some of the features of Zabbix 6.2, and maybe on some of the features on what is coming next. And with Zabbix 6.2, for example, we are extending the scope of monitoring. We are introducing improved smart monitoring. We are introducing a new templates. This is just a few of them. For example, the native integration with Amazon CloudWatch is coming, so that it would be not only the monitoring part of this integration, but also discovery. So Zabbix would be able to discover, for example, EC2 instances or maybe some other services. Yeah, so EC2, RDS, and some of the other major Amazon services. So this is our first step into cloud monitoring. In Zabbix 6.2, we have also extended very much the monitoring of VMware. So now the monitoring of VMware will be much more deeper. Yeah, so we'll have more metrics available again, and more information that can be gathered from VMware. And of course, the Kubernetes, which we have introduced in Zabbix 6.0, the monitoring of the Kubernetes, it will be extended. It's 6.2. And also, I will talk about this a little bit later, what we are having in the roadmap, but it will be even further extended in the next releases of Zabbix. Yeah, so this integration page, if you go to the integration page, at the very beginning, we tend to use as less templates as possible. For example, for SNMP templates, we had like a generic SNMP template. Maybe you remember it, yeah? And this generic SNMP template can be used for Cisco monitoring, for monitoring of, say, Juniper devices or F5 monitoring and so on and so forth. But now we took an absolutely different approach. We'd like to make sure that whatever device you have, like, for example, some Cisco device or F5 device or, I don't know, Synology device, whatever, we have a template which is made specifically to monitor this type of a device. So it will be much more kind of user-friendly, and you can, and our users and we as a developers on Zabbix we will be able to extend this device to make sure that this template, is provides all possible information for a specific type of device. Yeah, so basically what we have now, we have just one device per template. Yeah, that is our goal. Security. Of course, this is one of the top challenges right now of C-level execs, like CIO guys. They're thinking about security, and of course, you heard many cases when some vulnerabilities made kind of a catastrophic outcome. Yeah, that's why security. We really pay a huge attention to security in Zabbix in two ways. In the way how Zabbix software is developed, we also pay a huge attention to the way how we protect our kind of development environment. And also, there are many security-related things which are, and functionality which is built into Zabbix. Yeah, I would like to mention just a few of them. Tomorrow there will be a special talk about security, so please don't miss it. Yeah, so, and security, for example, on the agent side. On the agent side, you can fully control what metrics are available there. So, for example, if you would like to deploy agent to monitor some specific metrics, you can do it. Yeah, so Zabbix agent will be able to monitor just a few metrics, and all the other metrics will not be available. What else? All communication between absolutely all components in Zabbix are encrypted. Yeah, the communication between Zabbix server agent, proxies. Of course, the front end is protected by HTTPS protocol. The connectivity with the database can also be secured by TLS. Yeah, and for agent we support TLS and PS key, public pre-shared key encryption. Zabbix front end. This is how users interact with Zabbix, and there are a number of significant improvements as well. For example, we do support right now SSO, single sign-on. We do support a password complexity starting from Zabbix 6.0. We do support audit log, which is really detailed at this moment. Yeah, so the goal of the audit log is to make sure that any changes users are doing in Zabbix UI or any interactions with Zabbix API are recorded. And I think it's very important from a kind of from security point of view and from compliance, especially from the compliance point of view. Sometimes we want to be compliant to different security standards, and this is very important. And of course, I think this is a huge one. It's about ability to keep a secrets outside of Zabbix, not in a Zabbix database, but in some special systems designed to keep secrets. And in Zabbix 6.0, for example, it supported HashiCorp Vault, and in Zabbix 6.2, we are supporting CyberArk. Yeah, so this is kind of enterprise-grade solution for keeping secrets like passwords, different tokens. I don't know, for example, SNMP community name, and so on and so forth. Again, the security-related information is important, and it's important to keep it as transparent as possible. I think around 9 months or 6 months ago, we have introduced our official advisory. It's available on zabbix.com/security-advisories, and this is publicly accessible information about all vulnerabilities found in Zabbix by us, by Zabbix team, or by independent security researchers. Yeah, and also sometimes even we react to some well-known vulnerabilities, like okay, it's a well-known vulnerability in the Spring Framework or well-known vulnerability in the zlib library, and we are telling specifically that Zabbix is not affected. Yeah, just to keep a very clear message to all users that for some vulnerabilities, Zabbix is not affected, but of course we have some other vulnerabilities when Zabbix might be affected, and we offer information in what version of Zabbix it is fixed. So it's a kind of a total transparency from our side about all security-related issues with Zabbix. User roles. This is another feature which contributes to security from one hand, but also it creates an extra level of flexibility. That's what we introduced before 6.0, and it really gave us a very granular control what a specific user can do in Zabbix. And using user roles, we may control what parts of Zabbix UI are accessible. For example, this is a customer. So for customer, we are telling, okay, only dashboard and problems should be accessible, nothing else. Yeah? And also we tell what API methods can be used by this specific user role or this specific user. Okay? What else? I think this is also a very nice feature which was introduced in 6.0. Is about scheduled PDF reports. Basically, any Zabbix dashboard can be turned into a PDF report and sent on a, say, daily, weekly, monthly, or early basis to you, to Zabbix administrators, for example, Zabbix users, or maybe your customers, if you monitor environment of your customer. Business service monitoring. The functionality which we have introduced in Zabbix 6.0 is very fresh, but this brings, again, monitoring on a different level. Not kind of a level of IT infrastructure, devices, some metrics, but it's about monitoring of a business services. Services we may provide to our users, or maybe some internal services we use in our company. And for those internal services, we have a very sophisticated methods how to configure, how to basically manage them with a complex SLO definition, service level objectives. This functionality is designed to support more than 100,000 of services with SLA reporting, again, with multi-tenants using flexible user roles, with the root cause analysis. So this is something to have a look. Yeah? So Zabbix kind of traditionally, it was made like IT infrastructure monitoring. It's not IT infrastructure monitoring anymore, but now we have also introduced another level, higher level of business service monitoring. So, and actually, these three features, I would say, this a combination of user roles, rebranding options, which are also introduced in Zabbix 6.0, SLA reporting, scheduled reports. It creates a very powerful combination, especially for MSP type of users. Yeah, so if you're an MSP company which provides the services to your customer, I think Zabbix is a very nice choice, and it can be used to provide additional advantage, additional value, or maybe even a paid service to your customers and to your users. And it all can be built on top of Zabbix. I will touch base a little bit and talk about synthetic monitoring. So synthetic monitoring, this is kind of ability to retrieve data out of HTTP endpoints. And why it's so important? It was introduced not in 6.0, even earlier. It's important because it really allowed to retrieve data out of different APIs, HTTP APIs, cloud APIs. We may communicate to, say, Kubernetes API, all sorts of APIs. Yeah, and it provides a very, I would say, kind of a flexible way, and that could be scripted and extended even further as a multi-step, kind of a multi-step procedure, how we getting data out of different endpoints. Yeah, so baseline monitoring, trend predictions, and anomaly detection, it's super important nowadays. Because I think now we have different expectations from monitoring tools. Maybe like 10 years ago, something happened and we want to be alerted about it. But now we want to predict when something may happen, yeah? When something may go wrong. So we need some kind of a trend prediction functions, and we want to have some anomaly detection functions, and that's, again, that was introduced, and we extended this part of functionality very much in Zabbix 6, in Zabbix 6.0. So Zabbix is able to generate messages like this, like sudden anomaly detected and daily bandwidth usage, or number of new user registration is down a certain %. And this is a very kind of valuable information, so we can go and have a look what really happened, why the number of user registration is going down, for what reason, recently, again, just after release of Zabbix 6.0, we have introduced a Zabbix features page. And the main idea of this page is basically to list all possible and technical and not necessarily technical advantages of Zabbix. So actually, if someone would ask you a question, does Zabbix support A, or does Zabbix support B, or does Zabbix support C, you may basically go to this page and answer a question, and answer this question here. So there's so much information, and you can use it as a reference, maybe talking to your colleagues or talking to your managers about Zabbix. So we're explaining things, how Zabbix, what are the capabilities of Zabbix in terms of data collection, what are the capabilities of Zabbix about visualization or alerting, and some many other topics. Just have a look. I think this is very, very nice piece of a source of information for all of us. Yeah, so what next? Yes, this is a very good question, and I'm always asking myself what can be improved. And I'm asking not only myself, of course, I'm asking users and partners and customers, what do you think can be improved in Zabbix? Which way we should go? What part of Zabbix can be made better? And of course, at Zabbix, I'm in charge of a roadmap. I'm in charge of the product. Actually, I define the way Zabbix is moving forward. And there are so many ways. I fully understand. If you have a look at number of feature requests in the Zabbix tracker, like Zabbix Next requests, we are having thousands, thousands of feature requests. And of course, it's a challenge to understand what should be improved next, So there are some strategic functionality we'd like to see implemented in Zabbix. There are so many very popular Zabbix Next issues. There's also feature requests with many votes from you, our users, community members. Of course, there are paid development. And of course, the roadmap is kind of a compromise. So it's a compromise. We cannot develop everything in one day. So of course, it's just we make some parts of users are happy, and maybe some parts of users are not happy because the feature A, which is really required, is not implemented. But well, that's life. So I don't know what we can do here. So I'd like to shed some light on the new kind of main vectors of Zabbix development, the main directions for kind of like in a two years horizon. So the general usability, I think it's really important. Zabbix is a professional product. Of course, we understand it's a professional product. It requires a little bit of knowledge. We need to learn how to use Zabbix. But from one hand, but on the other hand, I'd like Zabbix to be much more simple. More simple for users, especially for new users. That's one of our challenges in the long run. The cloud monitoring, visualization, and reporting. So that's what I mentioned before. This kind of movement and usage of the cloud and the hybrid cloud technologies, we see it everywhere. We already invested, as I mentioned before, time researching it. There will be a CloudWatch integration coming soon, and there will be much more work which we do in Zabbix in the future related to cloud monitoring. And it's not only about the monitoring per se, but it's also about the visualization of technologies like Kubernetes and the cloud services. So this is very important, to visualize how cloud services looks like and present it to users. Event problem handling and processing, I'll have a special slide about it. Extending scope of monitoring, again. So at this moment, Zabbix is doing a great job of monitoring kind of infrastructure part of thing, but I guess we're always thinking what we can do further, yeah? So just some time ago, we have introduced IoT monitoring with the support of Modbus and MQTT protocols. And now we are thinking, and this is a long-term horizon, about the APM management, APM monitoring, advanced log monitoring. That's what may appear in Zabbix at some point. What else? And expandability on all levels. This is super critical and important. It's about giving a freedom to users to extend Zabbix. Of course, right now we can use the webhooks. Right now we can use agent plugins. We may use user parameters. We can use the pre-processing, which is very flexible, by taking advantage of the JavaScript. But it's not enough. Yeah? Sometimes we want to do more. For example, we want to develop our own widgets and want to develop our own UI modules, or want to extend something else in Zabbix. And of course, the high availability, scalability, and load balancing is always a hot topic. Yeah, it's always a hot topic. So one thing which is coming very soon, and I think it's been a big issue, especially for larger customers using proxies, is upgrade from one version to another. If you have many proxies, you have to upgrade everything simultaneously. Zabbix servers and proxies, and sometimes it's just impossible, yeah, because your proxies could be, well, in a different time zones, controlled by different teams of people. It's not possible to do. So in Zabbix 6.4, there will be support of kind of zero downtime upgrade of proxies. So proxies will get kind of a backward compatibility. So you may, for example, use Zabbix Server 7.0, and it will work with 6.0 proxies and also 7.0 proxies. So it will create a longer time frame for upgrade of your proxies. So this is something that is coming in Zabbix 6.4. Advanced event correlations, that's what I'm working right now very hard. So Zabbix, again, is a good tool to collect metrics, to process metrics in a number of different ways. But sometimes we want to do more. We want to collect events from different systems. So ready-to-use events. And a good example of event, like just a SNMP trap, is basically event. It's not a metric. Or maybe we may want to collect data from different monitoring tools, yeah, which are providing events in XML format or I don't know, JSON format, whatever. Yeah. So, and the event correlation, I believe it would be one of the key functionalities and new improvements in Zabbix very soon. So now we are working hard, and I'm personally very much involved in this part of the functionality. And having event correlation in place, we could easily solve this kind of issue with multi-data center monitoring. So for example, we have several data centers, and the question is how to monitor the several data centers. Yeah? Maybe it's not a trivial, because if one of data centers is down, we are losing some data, or we may lose the whole Zabbix server. And with event correlation and with ability to retrieve events from different sources, we can basically have a central Zabbix server which would collect events out of different data centers. Yeah? So this is one of the improvements which is coming. So it's about collecting events from different sources, including Zabbix servers, and also about a visualization. So some of the widgets can be, the data for some of the widgets can be retrieved directly from the data center Zabbix server. okay? That's how it may work. The multi-data center monitoring, which is a very kind of anticipated use case, will be done very soon. Temporary problem suppression, yeah? Again, it's something related to the way how Zabbix handles events. And it's also one of the top popular features of our Zabbix users. And this functionality is coming in 6.2, so very, very soon. Yeah, it's already done. I guess I think it's available in one of beta releases of Zabbix 6.2, so you may have a look how it works. So it's basically ability to suppress event for some period of time. Yeah, so say 2 hours or maybe till next month. It's all possible to do. Yeah, so suppress and you select for what time this problem should be suppressed, so it will disappear from the problem view, and also alerting will be suppressed. New visualization, so this is extremely important. In 6.0, I think we made a very nice step in this direction by introducing support of geographical maps. We have also introduced ability to display top N servers with this data table widget. We have also introduced a single metric widget and some others. But it's only beginning. Yeah, so it's only beginning. We'd like to invest our time and our effort to make it much more powerful with a new set of widgets, especially for visualization of cloud services and the Kubernetes services, for example. Yeah. And super important part of all of this is to give users ability to build your own widgets, to build your own visualization. And remember, everything that you can use in the dashboards, all widgets that can also be used for reports, for PDF reports, for scheduled reports. Yeah, so that is very nice. So this is one of the key directions of the development of Zabbix. Another feature which is coming in Zabbix 6.2 very, very soon is about, I call it kind of instant configuration update. So what happens now? Now you go to Zabbix UI, you create a host, and then maybe after 15 minutes, depending on configuration of your Zabbix server will notice that, okay, I have a new host to monitor. But now we are switching to a completely different approach. And now the configuration will be instantly updated everywhere. So in Zabbix UI or API, a host or item or trigger is created or updated. The information is stored immediately in Zabbix database, as it is now. And then very quickly, Zabbix server will notice that, okay, I have a new item to monitor. I have some configuration changes. And Zabbix will push these configuration changes to Zabbix agent. And if Zabbix agent understands, okay, I have a new item, it will check it out of order for the first time. So you'll get a new information as soon as possible. And this is a very nice change, especially for big users of Zabbix, because configuration, the synchronization of configuration now may take like tens of seconds or maybe even minutes if you have, for example, 1 million of items or 1 million of triggers. But with this change, it will be almost instant. It will take just a few seconds. Yeah, and it will also have a very nice impact on the performance. Performance of Zabbix server will be much better. What else? Just-in-time user provisioning. This is one of the top feature requests. It hasn't been implemented yet, sorry about it, but now we are very close to have it implemented. We already know how it will be implemented, and this is coming in Zabbix 6.4. It's coming 6.4. It's about ability to manage users outside of Zabbix. An Active Directory, or maybe in a SAML or LDAP, you manage your users somewhere else, not in Zabbix. And then we have just a mapping between the different SAML attributes or Active Directory attributes, LDAP attributes, with the Zabbix user roles. So this is how it's going to work. Yeah, so just-in-time user provisioning, you don't need to manage users in Zabbix anymore. So, and again, it contributes to a better security. Yeah. So, speaking about Zabbix 7.0 roadmap. Okay, so there are a number of directions, some very important directions. I already mentioned some of them, like cloud and Kubernetes monitoring and visualization. So visualization part is super important. Yeah. Just-in-time user provisioning and user synthetic monitoring. I didn't mention it yet, but it's about ability to basically to act as a browser. So you go to a website, your application, and Zabbix would fill some forms, will do some interaction with the website, and this way it can be very nicely monitored. Security and compliance monitoring. Okay, now we are mostly monitoring some things which are not related to security and compliance, but also I'd like to extend Zabbix so it will do compliance monitoring for SOC standards, for example. Yeah, that would be nice to have. Event correlation engine, receiving events from other systems, enterprise alarm console with ability to hide problems, suspend problems, maybe group problems to eliminate noise. Because quite often we have so many events, it's really hard to understand what's happening. Yeah, and event correlation will help us to eliminate this noise. Framework for new widgets, again, super important, and it will, I guess, contribute to a much better visualization, which coming not only from Zabbix team, but also coming from you, from Zabbix users and community members. Upgrade of proxies, visualization, usability improvements, new templates and integration, of course. And later on, of course, initially it was planned for Zabbix 7.0, but I understand that it's kind of a huge amount of work, of course. So we would like to investigate more and think about APM monitoring and log management. Quite possibly the integration with open telemetry protocols, also receiving data and also sending data, metric data and events. Basically the both way integration, and the cloud and a cloud-native approach for scalability, especially for horizontal scalability of Zabbix servers and Zabbix proxies. So yes, the roadmap, of course, it's available on zabbix.com/roadmap. There are some nice labels. You can see new, in design, in dev, ready. So it's really easy to see what's happening with those features. Yeah, is it ready? If it's ready, then it's possible to just download the latest Zabbix from master branch and see how it works. Otherwise, it could be in development or in design. So the roadmap is available for Zabbix 6.2, 6.4, and 7.0. For 6.2, of course, it is super detailed because 6.2 is coming soon. For 6.4, we have less information. For 7.0, just some kind of major directions for 7.0. And Zabbix release 6.2 is about to be released, actually. The first release candidate is coming next week, which is a great news. And Zabbix 6.2, I mentioned just a few features of Zabbix 6.2 today, but it's coming with far more very useful functionality. For example, support of multiple LDAPs, yeah, so many features. 6.4, yeah, by the end of this year, and 7.0, important release because its LTS is coming the second quarter of next year. Well, Zabbix community, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my love to Zabbix users and community members, and partners and customers, really. And especially, I enjoy very much when some of you guys contribute to Zabbix in some way. You're already contributing because you use Zabbix, so thank you very much. But sometimes some people do kind of further steps and do more. And I will just want to demonstrate some of some of the ways how you can contribute to Zabbix. Propose new feature. So it's very simple. Okay, you missed some feature in Zabbix, you'd like to see it implemented, spend maybe 5 times of your, just 5 minutes of your time to register a new feature request, or maybe a vote for a feature request you already have in Zabbix. Yeah? And when we are thinking about the roadmap, we pay a very serious attention to the number of votes. We really want to implement something that is needed for our users. Translation. Yeah, so just recently we have introduced a new translation framework, and those guys, maybe, well, I'm sure some of you are here who participated in the translation to Portuguese or maybe to Spanish. So I'd like to thank all of you. But again, it really takes just 5 minutes of time. If you see something is not translated for some reason, okay, just go there, register, propose your translation. It's powered by a translation framework, so sometimes you don't even need to translate something. The translation will be proposed to you, and that's it. I do it sometimes. Yeah, actually, I connect to through translation framework at translatezabbix.com, and sometimes I contribute to it. What else? Got a template? Well, share it. So again, recently we moved from share.zabbix.com to GitHub. And at GitHub, we have a special project which is called the Community Templates. And actually, this is a list of all well-known templates coming from our community. Yeah? So you made some work, you can basically share it with other guys. The other guys may contribute to your template, and your template will be even better. What else? And Zabbix blog. Actually, this is a very great source of information, and many blog posts are coming from users. Those are kind of a guest authors of our blogs. And it contains so interesting information about the ways how Zabbix can be used for different use cases, for a new and interesting functionality in Zabbix. At the end of my presentation, I'd like to ask you to subscribe to the newsletter. Again, the newsletter, and it's delivered not only in English, but also, well, in Portuguese, so that you may get the very latest news about the events happening around, about the product, about the new features and new integrations. And recently, I guess half a year ago, we have introduced Zabbix Handy Tips. Handy Tips is all about kind of maybe some hidden features. Not necessarily hidden features, but some features of Zabbix, and we explain it in a very short and a very understandable way. Yeah, like discovering hosts and services with network discovery. So we explain first what's all about. We have a short video, so you can see in action how to configure it. And then we give information about the outback, what you receive back. Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very much. Obrigada. And well, I hope we'll have 2 days of the great conference, and well, enjoy the conference. So thank you very much. Thank you.